Good evening, everybody. It's the Clay Golem here. We are back building Phandelver. I have a confession for you immediately. I'm already getting... Like, as soon as you go live, right, YouTube just starts going, oh, message. It's like, sod off. I don't need it. Good evening, everybody. Hope you're all right. I've got a confession. So I was looking at our challenges with the map. And 4x2 Lee, good evening, was looking at our map. And as you know, we were looking at the tiles and they didn't match and all sorts of things. So I've swapped the map out. Now, as much as I don't like ones that are pre-lit, because foundry lighting's better. What happens when you put this fire out and stuff? I was looking at the tiles and I thought, do you know what? Let's swap it over. And I also spent a bit of time rescaling the map so it actually fits a bit better. So I did all that off camera because you don't want to watch me just messing around doing that for ages. This is why I've still got the grid on. Igla, thank you. I appreciate that. I just assumed everything was okay. It has been for the part. It was only that one time that left me paranoid, so I think I'm all right. Liam Leclerc, good evening. Good evening. My usual crowd. I like this. It's really, really nice. So we're finishing this, of course. So ignoring the fact, I'm going to turn that grid off because it's useful, but it's ugly. So let's immediately get rid of the grid. There we go. So you can see, and again, things like this being lit and stuff like that, that's fine. But, a few fireballs in there and that fungus is gone and yet the map's still lit. Same with over here, but we can play with those tiles. So, no further ado, let's actually crack on, shall we? We did 17, so we're up to 17, 18, 19 and 20. We did down here, although it was very rough. And the, just straight from the manual stuff. Now remember, this is a really simplistic kind of adventure. It's not got frills and whistles, but we will be doing some stuff and adding bits and things like that to it. So we did 16. Let's just recap, because I think we talked about 16 and went, there's nothing there. It's just the narrow ledge that overlooks the cavern. There's nothing there at all. Now in the Shattered Obelisk, so the updated version that then has the extension on, I'm pretty darn sure there's a creature that lives in there. I can't remember what it is, a giant octopus, I think. Which, we had this conversation before, and I can't remember who it was. Somebody said that they moved the entire of the mine to the coast because this crashing waves coming in here and making Wave Echo Cave. The reason why it's called that is because the echoing waves, it's like that makes no sense when the thing is miles and miles and miles from the sea. And like I say, the updated one, I'm pretty sure it's a giant octopus. That's a saltwater creature. See what I mean? Some things just don't quite make sense. So, yeah. And whoever it was who said they moved it, totally great idea. That makes an awful lot of sense. Right. The old stream bed. So this is area 17. This is this bit here. So it's talking about this passageway. This passageway is barely 4 foot high. Blah, 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 blah. The dwarves diverted the stream. Great. It's given us a little bit of background, but there's nothing here either. See what I mean? There's just location after location after location with not really anything there. You had a friend who ran the campaign where he connected it to an underground sea, which makes a lot more sense. And that's the direction I would have taken Phandelver if I was redoing it. They've got the Shattered Obelisk. It's like, where does that sea go? And it can go anywhere you like. And that really, to my mind, should be a way to get to the Underdark. It explains an awful lot more. The whole point of Nesnar, our bad guy, is trying to find the mine so he can get the riches for himself. But you can completely change that around and use the same locations and everything and actually have it connect. Or rather, he has made it connect. Now he's found here. Maybe the reason why... just off the top of my head, maybe the reason why he hasn't managed to get past this really easy area yet, he's not managed to deal with the undead here. Some reason he's not gone round the corner. he just ignores the fact that that's a thing. Maybe he's focused his attention on quick and easy access to the Underdark. I don't know. Do whatever you like with it, really. But whatever. Anyway, that's not what we're here for. It's my problem with written modules. I just have to... And I know everybody does. So many DMs go, oh yeah, I changed it. I changed this. I changed that. Make it your own. Absolutely. Right, so old stream bed. Get rid of it. Right, the collapsed cavern. So that is this 18 here, just above where we are. Nesnar's servants occupy this cavern, guarding it against undead incursions and carefully sifting through the rubble, as you do. Black Spider's divination suggests that some valuable treasure is hidden at the bottom of the rift that was created when this area was destroyed. Blah, 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 blah. 3 bugbears are stationed here. 2 of them are clearing rock on the rift floor, while 1 stands guard on the western half of the cavern. So we need 3 bugbears. That's going to be really easy. Monsters, we got bugbears. So 3 of them are going to be down here digging. There we go. We're going to have a bugbear there and a bugbear there. They're going to be digging amongst that rubble. And there was 1 over here on the western side. Now it also says, and I know you can't see it, a doppelganger named Valak supervises the operation in the guise of a male drow. So we've already got our doppelganger Verith. Let's duplicate. And then we're going to rename this one. Because we need to remember it's a doppelganger. So this was, what was it? Valak. Let's not have... Oh my life. Excuse me while I have a minor breakdown. What was it? A Valak, they called it. Righto. So we're going to have Valak. Now, this is one of the things that we're going to do when we come through and we're going to clear it all up. Because this module is not written for Foundry or anything like that. So obviously we're using a doppelganger because it is a doppelganger. It's got this shapeshift ability. This is not the right token for it. So we are going to need to come back and change that. Because at the moment that looks like a doppelganger. It's a bit of a giveaway, isn't it? That's not what we want. So they supervise the operations in the guise of a male drow. If a fight breaks out in the main cavern, the 2 bugbears in the rift climb the ropes to join the fray. So we've got the ropes here. But there's no ropes up this... Well, they're down here. So this is a drop. So you're up here. That's a drop down. Okay. And then these are the ropes that they've used to ascend and descend. So again, when we look at kind of doing, fancying it all up and stuff, we can look at doing heights and things like that. We will do things like the rough terrain and stuff like that, because this is all going to be rough terrain down there. I mean, just look at it. It looks like rough terrain, so we'll make it rough terrain. We're going to do all of those kind of things, but not today. So the rift is 20 foot deep, climbing up and down, blah, 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 blah. If 2 or more of the bugbears are called, the doppelganger tries to retreat to area 19. There we go. So what it says is the treasure, the divinations are accurate. Buried under heavy rubble at the bottom of the rift is a crushed skeleton of a dwarf wearing gauntlets of ogre power. So we probably ought to find those, didn't we? And add them to our treasure list. So again, Omnisearch, because it just makes life so much easier. Gauntlets of ogre power from the DMG. Why have I got 3 lots come up? Because SRD stuff. Okay, so if you don't have the manual, you will have gauntlets of ogre power because they're in the SRD. I want the proper ones from the DMG because they come with... they're the proper ones. Not saying there's anything wrong with the SRD ones, but if I've paid for that book, I'm going to use the stuff from it. Excuse me, just having a quick sip of a drink. So we do need to do this. Now, what we can do, of course, actually, is we can change this individual right now and just not change their portrait necessarily, but change their token. Because if we look at assets tokens, we've got a whole bunch of things here, and we should be able to find let's search. Will it give us a drow? No. What are they going to be called? Dark Mantle. Great. They're not going to be Doc Alpha. They've been called so many different things over the years. Yeah, just elf. We got any elf? No. It's going to be because they're not in the monster manual, right? And if I look in the PHB, possibly. See, you could just get stuck looking for stuff. I might leave it and just come back to it another time. Journal art portraits. D might be a good place to look, you muppet. Yeah, there's no dark elf. There's no drow. There's no dark elf. No, I'm going to give up on that. I'm not going to waste your time finding it. But you know what I mean. Yeah, we could swap it out for the default token. I think that's a little bit boring. We'll find some better images for that. The reason why is because for me, NPCs or, you know, main characters, main NPCs, main monsters and things like that, when they all look the same, it doesn't, you know, I don't know, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me at all. If that's a doppelganger looking like a particular character, I want it to look like a particular character. So Verilith and Valak should look different, to my mind. You're more likely to engage with them in a different kind of way, which is what their purpose is. Anyway, getting distracted. Right, so Gauntlets of Overpower down there, yeah, no problem whatsoever. Which leaves us just the last two kind of locations here. So the temple, which is over here, brilliant. There we go. Nesnar uses this room as his headquarters while he explores the mines and searches for the Forge of Spells. He's not looking very well, is he? Because the players are going to find the Forge of Spells in a matter of being here an hour. Less than that. 6 marble pillars, blah, 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 blah. What are we interested in? 4 giant spiders. Again, this is changed in the other version of this as well. So the room occupants are not aware of the characters as they enter. 2 bugbears stand near the table, flanking a dark elf dressed in black leather armor and robes. He clutches a black staff. So we need 2 bugbears. Let's do those. They're easy. We're going to smack 1 bugbear, another bugbear. He is joined by 4 giant spiders. So let's find a giant spider. We've got giant spiders already. We have used giant spiders. So we stick... Thank you. I'm not sure why that was a bit of a delay. We're going to stick a giant spider in each corner of the room. Just because. So when you're placing monsters, for those of you who are perhaps relatively new to running D&D and things like that, but because we're using tokens and things like that, think about what the party is going to do and how you can make combat a bit more interesting and a bit more dynamic. If you line all the bad guys up over here, then your fighting classes are going to come to the front and hold them off, while your spellcasters and your missile firers are going to stay at the back and ping them off, yeah? And every battle will be the same. That's what they will fulfill those roles. If you do something a bit more like this, then those spiders are going to start off hidden because they're hiding. You might want to give perception checks to see if they spot them and things like that. They might spot one and not the others. But when it all kicks off and Nesnar summons them, these 2 are going to probably drop down behind the party amongst the spellcasters, because they have done that 2 ranks of, you know, the fighters versus the spell slingers. Suddenly it makes it a lot more interesting. And that wizard who went, I only ever take fireball and magic missile and I've taken no defensive or utility spells, is gonna be in trouble. And that's what you want. You want to encourage your players to think about working together as a team, taking not just 100% focusing on blam blam blam. While that is a lot of fun, They should be thinking about other things as well, taking Misty Step, you know, to get out of those situations, or making sure they've got mage armor and stuff like that. So you want to make sure they're thinking. And also, yes, brilliant, your fighter's up front, but now his spellcasting chums are in trouble. What does he do? Does he try and disengage to go and help them out? Does he keep fighting here? What does he do? It makes them think more about the battle rather than just drawing lines in the sand. Anyway, preaching to the choir, I'm absolutely certain at the moment. Right, so we need a Neznar. Now, how are we going to find because if we look for oops. No Dark Elf. We're going to look for Drow. What we call him. So we've got Monster Drow. Okay, so we can use that for now, but we are going to make him a proper thing. All right, because otherwise that's just boring. So let's drag him into our monsters for the moment and get rid of that. And we probably ought to move him into NPCs, okay, because they're going to negotiate and things with him. So let's change this. We're going to update Drow to Neznar the Black Spider. Nothing arrogant about that name at all. I'm going to copy that. Now, the reason I'm copying that, in case you're not aware, is because we have dragged this from the monster manual or any other location. It's going to drag it in with that title. We can change the title there, but when I go to the token, see, the token still says it's Drow. So the label on the token still says Drow. And if, like me, I like to have the name when I control it, so I can remember the names of my NPCs. Otherwise I forget and I go, he was Nigel, was it Neris? No, what was his name? So I just need to very quickly click on it and then I can re-see their name. So I always do that. Now, in this case, because this is a main character, I'm going to link to the actor data. What does that mean? So when I put a token out for this particular one, anything that happens to the token happens to the actor. So if I've got the token out twice, they will reflect each other perfectly. The reason why that can be important for these kind of characters is they may be in multiple different scenes. And in fact, Neznar could crop up absolutely anywhere. And that's one of the changes that you probably ought to consider, is they hear about Neznar but never meet him until the final battle. That's a bit naff. Make him encounter them. Maybe he comes into Phandelver and comes and joins them at the table and has a drink. And there's not an awful lot they can do about it at that time without just blatantly murdering somebody. You know, you can make it a bit more interesting. So he can come in and taunt them or question them or stuff like that. But because his token might be in multiple scenes and things like that, if he has been injured and he changed scene, he want him to stay injured, etc. He's not just a one-off monster to kill, or shouldn't be. Default movement action, we don't need to worry about that, but it's walk, of course. He is hostile, so we're happy to leave it like that. Under appearance, is there anything we want to change? We will be getting him a different picture. Absolutely. And I will lock his artwork rotation. I'm not going to do it for this one because, let's come out of there. Because at the moment, when I shove Neznar down, what did I do with him? I've renamed him. Literally just doing it. Because he's got a top-down token. So when he moves around, he will rotate like that. And that makes sense for this type of token. Now, what's annoying is that's come from the monster manual. And they are tokens, not top-downs. This one's... Why are they different? I mean, I don't mind. So it's not an issue at all. I'm going to update that anyway at some point. Right, so this is Neznar. So what we need to do is have a little look and see what's here. He casts invisibility on himself. We need to update Neznar to make him this dude. So just hovering over there. So I'm going to actually open that in a different window so it's easier for us to look at. So first of all, we can see that he's called the Black Spider. He's a medium humanoid elf, armor class 11, but he will have mage armor, 27 hit points, 30 speed. So we need to make sure that that matches. Now, rather than doing it on the token, we have linked actor data, so I can, but I'm going to open it here just because. Good habits. So first of all, I'm just looking in the other window. What equipment does he have? Nothing. As an old module, when they go, oh yeah, what's he got? He hasn't even got a pouch with 2 copper in it. You know, it's nothing. Right. So we're going to edit this individual. We're going to configure this. We are going to have it as his as this stuff. So his equipped armor plus any things like his dex and the armor class from his armor. Okay, so we are going to leave that on. Now, by default, you can see they've given him a chain shirt. That's why he's got 15 armor class. We are going to remove that chain shirt because he doesn't have one. So when we remove that, you see that his armor class straight away drops to 12. Okay, so Foundry will do all of that for us. Now, it does in the module on that stat block, it tells me what his strength is, 9, what his dex is, 13, his constitution is 10, intelligence 16, because he's, again, from the monster manual you go, oh yeah, put a drow out, and all of the drow are the same. Yeah, boring. You know, there's no spellcasting drow. They're all just armed with a short sword and a hand crossbow. Which is like, yeah, alright, but whatever. It's not very interesting. So, we might leave him with something, but anyway, we'll come back and do that. So we've done his stats now. So now when we look at it, his armor class is 11, which matches what we would expect. His hit points should be 27. So we're going to click this configure hit points here, and we're going to make them 27. And we can update this as well. So actually in the module, it says that he's got 68. You can roll these, by the way. And you can roll what their hit points are based on that if you want to give a variety to your monsters. So you can give your different bugbears, for example, you can randomize how many hit points each of them have rather than them all being set. In this case, we're going with set, so we're doing that. Right. There are no spellcasting drow. Me with drow mage PTSD. Absolutely. I mean, you know, again, you know, I've been playing a long time. I have seen drow change quite a lot over the years in lots of different ways. I mean, drow are rogues or wizards. They obviously they can be anything. Of course they can, and they should be. But if you meet a drow, the chances are he's going to be a wizard or he's going to be a rogue. It's just, you know, that was always the stereotype. And I know in 2024, they're really trying to break those stereotypes. You know, it's like, oh, a drow could be anything you like. Well, yeah, they can be, and they always could be. But, you know, and again, obviously we've moved away from the phrase race. But certain, you know, if I ask, right, I'm going to actually, here's an experiment because you're all listening. What are, each of you, give me one trait of dwarves. Just anything you like. Pop it in the chat. Traits of dwarves. And this will prove my point entirely, I'm sure. Or it won't. I just embarrass myself. Alright, while you're doing that, speed of 30 foot, yep, that's there. So we're just configuring this as according to the book. So saving throws intelligence. So this little dot under here, we can click that to make him proficient. That's going to give him a +5. And he's also got wisdom. So he's got his +4 there because it's just adding that proficiency of +2 on there. Now, one thing, when you can't get your numbers to balance and you're like, oh, hang on a minute, it says he's got a skill of this and my skill won't match. Make sure you update the challenge rating, because the challenge rating will affect a proficiency bonus, which impacts skills and everything else. So if you find that things are misaligned, just make sure you update that. So it's giving you the right proficiency bonus that will feed through to all of those skills, and that will make a lot more sense for you. Building stuff, says Igla. Stone cutting thingy. Yep. Yep. I know stone, that old thing. Yep. Anything else? Any other dwarven stereotypes? Because there aren't many dwarven stereotypes. But yeah, the I know stone thing. Not cutting, cunning. Oh, well, yes, stone cunning, which actually includes stone. Yeah, it's about knowing stone, it's working with stone, cutting stone, understanding different types of rock and stuff like that. Absolutely, yeah. wider than they are tall. Yep. Yeah, I mean that's a kind of a physical description, but yeah, a lot of them are. They tend to be very kind of buff and rotund kind of individuals, aren't they? They're always kind of pictured as being very sturdy and muscular. If you saw a skinny dwarf, you would assume it was a halfling kind of thing. But none of you said the one that I was thinking of, which is probably good. It probably says an awful lot more about me than it does you. Let's carry on with this while see if you come up with anything else. All right, skills. So skills Arcana. So if I click that one, I should be looking for +5. I've got that. We're going to give him Perception as well, which is +4. He's already got that, and Stealth at +3. Brilliant. Now he should have Dark Vision. Great, to 120 feet. Passive Perception of 14. We've got that. His languages Elvish and Undercommon. Yep, that will do very nicely. I am going to give him Common as well, because he is working above ground. He is dealing with lots of other things. Common is the common language. You need to make sure, because some player will pick up on it, because I've played with some right smart asses. And they'll go, hang on a minute, he can't speak Common, and all of his troops, the Bugbears and Clark and people like that, they can't speak Undercommon or Elvish. So how are they communicating? So, you know, if you've got those clever players who will ask those kind of questions, then, yeah, just make sure you kind of make those links. So I'm giving him Common as the universal language. They are a Minecraft block. Yes, very much so, Igla. I like that. And don't forget the beard. Yes, the beard. All dwarves have beards. They never really kind of properly answered the question about female dwarves. Traditionally in D&D, female dwarves don't get mentioned. And I'm talking back, so like, you know, way back. They just never got mentioned. D&D was very sexist in its early days, along with a few other things that thankfully we've moved on from. But it just was. Female dwarves never got mentioned. It might be in the 2024 rules, actually. I've not specifically looked for it. But maybe they have addressed dwarves with beards. The one thing you guys haven't said that for me would have been top of my list is drinking. Is they drink. They drink and they mine, and they drink and they mine. And yes, they are known as good forgers. They make stuff, you know, anything to do with stone and metal smithing and drinking. That's kind of what they are. So yeah, it's interesting none of you actually mentioned drinking. So maybe that's my old school prejudice not against dwarves, but every time somebody's played a dwarf in one of my games, they've been a drinker. That might be my team. Shall I actually get on with this? Because I'm too busy yakking. Right. He has got special equipment. Nesnar has a spider staff. So we might need to make this. Let me bring this over here. So it says he's got a spider staff. So let's have a look at what this staff is. So it's rare. It's a standard item. It has spells. Staff has 10 charges. All right. So is that a normal? Is that a normal item? Spider staff? No, it's not, is it? So just looking, it's just magic quarterstaff, has spells, deals 1d6 poison damage on a hit to make a weapon attack. Right, so we're going to make this. Get rid of that. We're going to make this item for him. I'm going to come in here. We're going to go create item. So I'm not sure if you can see. I'm going to add it into part 4 Wave Echo Cave, because really they shouldn't be killing him before we get here. So let's make sure we add it in the right place. I'm going to click on create item. And now we get to choose what it is. Now it is a weapon because it's a staff. So we're going to create that. And we're going to call it spider staff. And I'm going to find a decent picture later on. Otherwise we're going to be here forever. Just trying to keep an eye on the chat as well. Kind of strange they are not known as farmers to produce the alcohol they are famous for drinking. You can't brew ale with iron ore. Absolutely, Igla. And this is... There needs to be WotC, Wizards of the Coast, and the rest need to do an awful lot more on the cultures and stuff like that around some of these. So when you take things like the city of Neverwinter, there's so little information about the city itself. There's a few modules that kind of refer to a bit of politics and stuff like that, but there's very little that says, and this is what's in the city, and this is how it works, and these are the factions. There's very little on that, and it's really, and I get that, you know, it's like, well, we leave that up to the DMs. It's an awful lot of work. And one of my things is, you're absolutely right. Where are the dwarves getting that from? They clearly must trade a lot. What do dwarves eat? They eat all sorts of things. Yeah, okay, you could say they eat a lot of meat and a lot of, you know, things they find underground and mushrooms and stuff like that. But they eat other things, you know, dwarven bread, hardtack and things like that. Where are they getting those ingredients? They must be coming from farms. So are dwarves on the surface farming, or are they trading ores for all of that stuff? There's a whole infrastructure there that isn't really explored very well. And I've thought about doing a dwarf-based campaign to kind of explore some of those ideas, and there's just no information out there. And then I gave up because I had too much else to do, and I've got to stop taking on new projects. Right, okay, should we do this staff? I'll get carried away. All right, so description. And now there's not an awful lot of description. I'm just going to copy the whole of this description from here. I'm going to put it in the description, not in the identified part, all right? I'm just going to get rid of that formatting text. So we got that in there. So the details for this. It's a staff. It's a simple melee staff because it's a quarterstaff base weapon, and we can pick it and go, base weapon is a quarterstaff, all right? Brilliant. Not using any mastery or anything like that. It is magical, all right? So it's a magic staff for the purposes of hitting creatures that require magic weapons to do damage. It is a magic staff, and it says in the book specifically, it requires attunement by a bard, sorcerer, warlock, or wizard. So attunement not required. We want to say attunement is required, and we can tick this to say it's already attuned, all right? We'll do that in a minute. We don't need to change range. What about the damage? So here is the default damage. Default damage for quarterstaff is 1d6, right? One-handed. Somebody tell me. I'm going to go 1d6 and hope I'm right. I'm sure I'm right. 1d6 bludgeoning. Okay, so, and this is not really that important to put it on here because we're going to update that in a moment. So that is a standard quarterstaff with the magical property. All right. Now, again, we're building this from a point of view of it's going to work as we want it to. Notice I've got MIDI, but we're not doing the MIDI bits. As I said last time, we will do, but we're not doing them yet. We just want to check this attack. So it's going to be an attack. It's a default melee. Okay, that's all good. Activation, it's an action to attack with it normally. We've got no consumption on this. Targeting is going to be, well, I mean, we don't need to do targeting. It's a melee weapon. It's got no range or anything like that, so we don't have to worry about that. What is the effect? Yes, it's going to use strength. This is all fine. Now, this is where it's going to pull in that base damage. What we want to do is we want to add a bit more damage onto it. Now, what did it say? It said it deals an extra 1d6 poison on a hit. So by ticking that, we can now say 1d6, and this is going to be poison damage. So if we look, I'll need to, I haven't given it to him. We'll see in a second. All right, brilliant. So we've got its base damage of 1d6, and we've also got its bonus damage, its poison damage as well. Now notice down here, this is the MIDI attack field, it's about one-handed, etc. So we're going to ignore those. We don't need to do anything at the bottom. We don't have effects that applied. It does poison damage. It does not give them the poisoned condition. So that's what this does. We don't need MIDI QL. Fine. Are we happy with this? Again, I've got to find a picture for it. If we do that attack, sorry, let me get rid of that and give it to him. Can you show me that? Oh. Why? There we go. So here we can see, so it's giving us, can you see, really small down here, it's giving us and saying, so he's got a +1 to hit with it. He's got d6 -1 damage, and then he's got d6 with that skull and crossbones, which indicates that it's poison damage extra, right? So that is what that's going to do. Now, the reason why it's only +1 is because he's got a +2 proficiency but a -1 strength. So he's rubbish at actually hitting anything with it, and his damage is reduced because of that as well. Right, what else can we do to this staff? Let me get rid of this one because we're going to give him a fresh one. What else do we need to do with it? Edit. We want to tick versatile, okay, because we can use it two-handed. So notice as soon as I tick versatile, it pops up this versatile damage, and it's already decided that it must be 1d8 because that's the next step up in dice. So I'm fairly sure it's d6 one-handed, d8 two-handed. So that's going to add that on for us already. And if we look at the attack over here, we don't actually need to do anything because it will update this dice roll to a d8 anyway if we do it two-handed. So that's really easy. So that's it. That's a basic weapon with some extra damage added to it. Sorry, just poking off the screen there. I was just moving everything. I need 3 screens. I say this every week. I need 3 screens. This staff has 10 charges. It's a magic staff. So how do we do this? So first of all, when we come into so description is just description. The details isn't giving us much here, but right at the very bottom, can you see we've got limited uses? It's got 10 charges, so it spent 0 out of 10 charges at the start, and it's going to recover. So it says about the staff regains 1d6 plus 4 expended charges daily at dusk. So the recovery for those charges is dusk and custom formula 1d6 1d6 plus 4. Okay, that's how we do that. Really nice and easy. Okay, not too difficult at all for that. What are we going to use these charges for though? So it says while holding it, you can expend the required number of charges to cast one of the following spells from the staff: Spider Climb or Web. What boring. I mean, they're keeping it on theme, but how boring. So we're going to add on activities. We've got our attack, but we want to add a new activity, and this is going to be cast. Okay, again, ignore the fact it says MIDI. We're not touching the MIDI stuff at the moment. This is how it works, core Foundry stuff. I need to just hide that down there. There we go. So activation for this, it is an action to do that. Consumption, yes, we want to consume charges. So let's put the spell on first. I'm gonna come back to that. Let's choose our spell. So by going to the spell, because we said it's a cast, we've got this bit here that we can drop a spell into. Now if we find our spell, if I actually search properly, thank you. Spider Climb. And it doesn't matter how you find this. It doesn't matter if you use OmniSearch, you do it direct from the book, etc. Once we find the spell, and I want to make sure that I'm using the Player's Handbook spell, so under my spells section, and I'm going to drag that in there. So by dragging it in, you can see that says now Spider. It's talking about using this spell, Spider Climb. Now we can check things like activation and stuff. It's now called itself Spider Climb, which is really useful. We want to look at that consumption because it's not using spell slots, it's using the stuff. So consumption is going to be item uses for this item. And what did it say? 1 charge? It's going to use 1 charge. So it's going to use this item. It's going to use 1 charge from this item. Easy peasy. We don't need to give limited uses to the spell because it's limited uses of the staff. So we don't need to touch this bit down here. Okay. If the staff could cast Magic Missile 4 times a day and it could cast Fireball twice, we would want to go, oh, hang on a minute, we need to limit the Magic Missile to 4 and do it that way. But actually, it doesn't matter. We're using charges from the staff, so we don't need that. This is all good. That's all done. There we go. Spider Climb. That's it. It's in. It's actually really kind of easy once you start doing these. What was the other one? web, wasn't it? 2 charges to do web. So we're going to go cast. We're going to go jumps to spell. We're going to go web. We're going to go to our spells. Spell compendium. I want to grab, again, ignore things like the gambits ones and stuff like that. We're doing core stuff. Going to drag that in. There we go. We've got our web spell in there. You can see that it's already worked out casting and everything else. We can override values and stuff. So what you might choose to do is you might say, well, hang on a minute. He doesn't need a material component because the staff is doing it. We're going to ignore these things. Okay, so this is ignored properties. It's going to ignore those because it's on the staff rather than you're casting it from the book. So you don't need verbal, you don't need semantic, you don't need material components to do it. You might argue and go, hang on a minute. Surely you have to do something to make the spell, either a word, a command word to get the staff to work, or some kind of wiggly gesture. So maybe I'm going to say don't remove, you don't ignore verbal. He needs to say something. And I strongly encourage yourselves as DMs and your players to have spell words. If the spell's got a verbal component, what do they say to make that spell go off? It really does. It gives them a lot of opportunity to really develop some character for their character. If you know what I mean? By making them do that. It's like, well, so what do you say? How does that work? Right, I'm not going to update that picture right now because boring. But that's it. He's now got a staff. No, he hasn't because we haven't given it to him. Let's give him his spider staff. And again, I'll change that. Okay. You'll also notice I've got the BBG HUD on and it's just given it to him. Let me turn that off. We don't need to see that right now. So we're giving him a spider staff. Fantastic. That was an awful lot of yabbering and stuff just to get this sorted. So this is what we did. We did the gains charges. It also says if it expels its last charge on a roll of D20, it crumbles to dust and is destroyed. I haven't bothered putting that in because I can't be bothered. 10 charges while holding it. We expend the charges to cast Spider Climb or Web. I didn't do the web reduction, did I? Hey. Too busy talking, not enough actually doing stuff. Get rid of that. I want this one. This, by the way, do you also want it displayed in the spell book? So he's got, if I give him this staff with those spells, when I look over here, he's not got them in his spell book. That's interesting. Normally it does, and it annoys me, and I don't like it. It's decided it's not done it. That's fine. Happy with that. Right, web. What I was doing was activation, consumption. We need to consume this item, and we're going to consume 2 charges from it. Okay, no recovery on this because it's recovery on the staff, not on the spell. All right, so we now have this staff done. Just make sure I've got given in the right one that I've just updated. So we give him this staff. He's now got it. Go away, you lot. Let's grab our Nesnar and we can test it. Let's just make sure we've got the one with the kit out. We can do that. We can go, let's use our staff and cast web. There we go. There's our template for our web. It's going to cast that straight out of there. I've got MIDI on. I forgot I've got MIDI on. Anyway, ignore the MIDI bits. Look at the charges. We cast web. It now says 8 out of 10. That's what I wanted to show, not the MIDI bit. Okay, so if you're wondering, that's how it works. He didn't have it equipped, so but there we go. Get rid of that. All right. He's also this is a problem. Can you stop rolling dice? Don't know what that was for. Next, because right. He's concentrating on this. Excuse me. Don't want the ruler. He's concentrating on web. It's from a staff. He should not be concentrating on it. So that's something I want to fix. Okay? Because things like that annoy me in game where he's cast a spell and he's concentrating on it, and then he uses his staff and it wrecks the concentration on everything else, and you lose your times and things like that. So back to that spell. Override values. Tick. We're not overriding the DC. We're not overriding the attack bonus. Oh, it's this one. Sorry. Ignore properties concentration. That's what I wanted to do. It's in the ignore properties. So we're going to ignore concentration material and semantic for that. Is spider climb concentrate? I can never... you know what? I'm rubbish with these things. We're going to take verbal off. I'm going to leave concentration on there as well. That will now work much better. Right, too much time doing one piddly little item. So what else do we need to do for Nesner to get him ready? Because he's still got his other equipment. He's got his spider staff. He should have things like Fey Ancestry. He's got that, which is good. He's got Sunlight Sensitivity. He's got Innate Spellcasting. That's all there. He does not have any other equipment. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to take the hand crossbow off of him. Ignore the fact that he's got these. This is from CPR. It automatically puts in those extra actions, which is fine. The only weapon this guy's got is his spider staff. But he does have spellcasting. He's a 4th level that uses intelligence. So on our spellcasting tab, this is where we can say he's 4th level. Okay. And it's going to populate his spell list for us. It's given us his innate dancing lights, darkness, fairy fire, things like that. But now we've actually got his things coming in. So if you want to give your NPCs proper spells and spell levels and stuff, that's how you do it. What level spellcaster are they? Yeah, there we go. Now at the moment, that says charisma as his spellcasting modifier. We want it to be intelligence. Okay, so you can change that there. Alright, so we know that he's using intelligence as a 4th level caster. And now we just need to add his actual spells on. Now, easiest way to do that, this is why I like Omnisearch, is his cantrips are Mage Hand. And I know we can just look it from the book. I want the spells, I want the players' ones. He's got Mage Hand, Ray of Frost, so from the player's handbook, slap that in there, and Shocking Grasp. Again, from the player's handbook. There we go. 1st level spells, he's got Mage Armor. You would darn well hope so, wouldn't you? Oh. Spell armor incorrectly. just to wind you all up, because I'm British. We have a U in it. All right. I'm not going to argue with anybody about which is the right way to do it, but I'm in Britain. That is the right way to do it with a U. If you're in America, the right way to do it is without a U. Just deal with it, right? No, it's putting these. Look, it's putting these all in as. I'll swap those in a minute. Don't worry. Magic missile, shield, spell, not the item. That's compendium features. What? It's just too many things for it to find in my stupid great big long list. Nabbit. Let's go to the compendium. Let's do it this way. This is the way that most of you would do it, of course, is I'm going to go here. I'm going to go spells. I'm going to go 1st level spells. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to go shield. Drag that in. What else has he got? He's got invisibility and suggestion. Invisibility and suggestion when I can actually use the alphabet. Right, now what it's done, just checking on you guys. Shut up, Jason. and good evening, sir. It's just arrived just to take the mick. Why is it putting those all in innate spellcasting? Yes, Igla, I know. Why did it do that? Because even the ones that I pulled from the compendium, Blinking Will did it as well, and it's really annoying. But because he's got the innate spellcasting trait feature, it likes to do that. That's what it likes to do. So when it does that, which is, I find, it just drives me up the wall. I want him to use spell slots and things like that. We can actually change that without too much drama. So Ray of Frost is a cantrip. Don't click the Ray of Frost, you idiot. Dear Lord. So if we edit the item, we'll go to details, you can see that it's in here and it's put it under innate spellcasting. We don't want to do that. Okay. If we take that out, it doesn't move it because it's defaulting to it. Spellcasting. There we go. And now it's moved it to where it should be. So we're just taking it off of being innate spell. I've done it again. It's because I was reading you laughing at me 4x2, Lee. I'm blaming you. You watch me do it again, though. Oh, I nearly did. Right. So we're going to stick all of these ones that were actually spells. So we're just going to the details tab, changing it from innate spellcasting to normal spellcasting, and it's moving them correctly. Shocking Grasp wasn't one of the innate ones. Yeah, stop laughing at me. Me doing the lizard meme. Yeah, thank you. Can I drag them? So, right, Mage Hand then. If I drag it, it's a nice idea, Jason. No. It's the answer to your question. It doesn't do that, no. And it's because it says, oh, no, but because they've got innate spell casting and you've added a spell, it must be an innate spell. It's like, no, it's not. The other way to do it is you can, if you were building this from scratch, bear in mind, I brought in a drow that already had that ability, and then I'm putting stuff on top of it. So it's assuming this is all innate spell casting. The other way I could have done it is do all of the spells and then add the innate spell casting couple of bits on afterwards, and then it would have been a bit more, it would have had a bit more sense about it, but it doesn't really matter. It's just a little bit fiddly, right? It's like, because you've got nothing better to do with your lives than to sort this out. Mage Hand was the other one that needed to be. Right, there we go. So his spells are all where they should be now, and he's got spell slots. Remember to actually give him his spell slots. Okay, or otherwise you end up going, haha, and oh no, he's run out of spell slots. Now it depends how you do it. When I do my bad guys, if the players can do it, my bad guys can do it. If my bad guys can do it, the players can do it, unless they are specific monster type abilities. So where I've got something like Nesnar, who is a spellcasting wizardy thing, he has to abide by the same rules as the player characters. So he can't just sit there and go, oh yeah, magic missile, magic missile, magic missile all day long. That's not fair, because players can't do it. If I want him to be able to do more, I make him harder. I put his CR up, I give him an extra level of spells, etc., or I give him a magic item, bearing in mind that the players then get to pick it up and then can do that themselves. So I need to make sure he's got these, and I do consume spell slots when my bad guys use their spells. I think that's only fair. It's nothing worse than your players thinking that you're just making it up as you go along and there's no rules for your monsters. There's always rules for your monsters. I mean, doesn't mean you can't, twist things a little bit when you need to. Alright, so we've got Darkness and Fairy Fire once per long rest, I think. Dancing Lights he can do at will, but then these are all, well, cantrips are cantrips, but the first level and second level spells will use slots. He needs to actually long rest if he wants to get them back. Spent a long time on this. Right, what else do we do for Nesnar? So just bring this back over here so you can see we've got this all this stuff in here, and when we just check, the last thing on his actions apart from spell casting is his weapon attack, which indeed agrees with us that it's 1d6 bludgeoning damage plus 3 plus 1d6 poison damage. So we've sorted him out. So we've just spent about half an hour throwing together Nesnar that would have taken 5 minutes if I'd just got on and done it and stopped talking. Right, I'm happy that we have. I'm going to delete him just to make sure we get the proper Nesnar now, and we are going to update his image at some point. He's still concentrating. Stop concentrating, please. Let's break that concentration. Thank you. Alright, so just give every monster a wand of magic missiles. Yes. And then your players end up with a Gatling gun's worth of magic missile wands. And yes, of course, you can go, no, but it's only got 2 charges left. And the monster uses both of those as part of the battle. Yes, you can do things like that. Absolutely. But if you overdo it, your players will get annoyed. It's like, oh, how convenient that the staff's just run out of charges at the end of the battle when we pick it up. Your German autocorrection writing every word in capital first letter. Why is he doing that? Get rid of that pause. Right. Okay, we've done that. I can get rid of that. I can get rid of staff. I can get rid of that. Lovely. Right, back to this. So he casts invisibility on himself, stands near the table. Now, I mean, you know, what's his stealth like? Because he's got only 2 spells that are of that level, and he's immediately going to cast invisibility. But anyway, the spiders are going to make a dexterity check to hide, etc. If the doppelganger from area 18, well, then we'll... that's interesting. He assumes the guise of Nundro Rockseeker. Now, recently we've been looking at using the feature to, it's not polymorph, to transform. That's the one that's built in on Foundry version 13 D&D 2024. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that really could work well for a doppelganger without using an additional mod. The other option, for those of you who have been following along, we looked at Ripper's token flip, which enabled you to change and flip the artwork for a given token. That is perfect for a doppelganger. So that's one of the things we might kind of go, how do we make this better? We're going to use token flip so that doppelganger can change what they look like without changing the stats or anything else like that. Yeah, we might have a look at the transform one. If we can do it without the mod, that's better. Just because, you know, if we can do it core, we should do it core. Right. The statue. The statue depicts blah 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 blah. Dwarven god. Da 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 da. Cast detect magic. Anything exciting. Da 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 da. The first letter of nouns is written capital in German. Yes, that's correct. A monster is the same as monster in English, so it corrects it. Oh, I see. Oh, that... Okay. Yeah. So it corrects it, in inverted commas, corrects it. It doesn't need correcting, but it thinks it does. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. And do you know what? I was aware of the capitalization in German, and it hadn't actually twigged in my head that you're right. It's... Well, of course you're right. it's your native language, but yeah, it's the nouns. Yeah. And I've looked at it a number of times. I speak a very poor, very, very bad German. I know a little bit. I know enough to swear in quite a few ways and to find myself to the railway station. And that's about it. Very much high school. No, not even high school. That's not fair against Germans because your English that you do in high school is phenomenal compared to what we do in German. Right, moving on. Role-playing Nesna. I'm going to ignore all that because it's rubbish. Development treasure. So he carries a potion of healing and the spider staff. So now it tells us what it doesn't put it on his character. So let's give me back my Nesna. He's going to carry a potion of healing. So rather than putting it in the treasure thing, I'm going to put it in his backpack. Because if it's in his backpack, I might actually remember he's got it, and then he might actually remember to use it. It's a potion of healing. Oh, potion. I want to find the actual, there we go, Dungeon Master's Guide version. There we go. So he's actually got a potion of healing in his backpack that he can now use and consume rather than me popping it in the treasure table. He carries an iron key with a head shaped like an anvil. Okay, so let's give him this item, right? So because when the characters raid the body, we go, oh, I forgot he had that. So we can do, we're on his backpack, his inventory, we can do a plus. What is it? Is it a piece of equipment? Is it loot? Is it a tool? Well, it doesn't really matter. It's a key. So let's put it as a tool because then it will sit under the tools section. And it said it's a... I've only just read it and I forgot. Anvil-shaped key. My typing. I mean, I can barely do English Igler, let alone German. And again, you know, I want to find a different image, but I'm not going to do that right now. I can give it weight. I can give it, you know, gold. I can give it activities and stuff like that. We don't need to because it's just, you found a key, brilliant, carry it around with you. And because I said it was a tool, it's going to sit under that tools section on his character sheet and then on any other person's character sheet. It says that his exploration of Wave Echo Cave has yielded some treasure, which the drow keeps in a sack on the wooden table. The sack contains 190 electrum, 130 gold, 15 platinum pieces, 9 small gemstones worth 10 gold each, a dwarven ale mug made of hammered electrum worth 100 gold. I mean, it's only electrum, jeebus. That's must have been one hell of a mug. And that's it. That's this area done, including the big bad. So we only have area 20 to go. Now I'm looking at the time, and we're supposed to finish now, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna be naughty. I'm gonna be naughty. How old am I? Okay, the door to this room is locked and requires thieves' tools. Blah 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 blah. So let's make sure we did lock that door. One right click. That is now locked. Good. Stop our players from just wandering in there. The figure lying on the floor is Nundro, Dwarf Commoner. Right, so we need a Nundro, don't we? Now, we did get under our NPCs. We should have... Oh, why have I got all of those in here? Oh, yeah, no, I know I've got all of these in here. We did some. We did Radoth and people like that, and Sildar and things like that. I chucked in loads of extra characters for the town for when they go to Phandelver. And I forgot to tell you I was doing that. Right, let's just take... Where is he? Where is he? Come on, brain, you can do it. I've forgotten what his blinging name is. If you recognise any of these, I'm just reusing some of the images that I used for Curse of Strahd, for things like peasants and stuff like that, rather than just generating completely new ones. Right, we want a Nundro. It is Nundro, isn't it? Where was it? Yeah, Nundro. Nundro the dwarf. And I do have an image for Nundro somewhere. I'm not going to find him now. We're going to sort that out later. And I have no problems if conveniently they're twins, all right? So I'm going to just chuck him out there for now. He's currently unconscious. That's fine. Figure lying on the floor is Nundro the Dwarf Commoner and the youngest of the 3 Rockseeker brothers. Nesnar spared him because he thought the dwarf might know more about the mine than he admitted. The drow has interrogated Nundro harshly once or twice a day since capturing him. Now, again, this is where I have criticisms of this module, and to kind of tie in with my understanding of the older kind of drow background. There's words we're not supposed to use on YouTube and things like that, of course, but indentured workers and stuff like that. If a drow wants to get information out of you, they're going to get that information out of you, you know. Pliers and, you know, yeah, they're not adverse to using means. Slip it like that. All right. So you know, he's going to be grateful for being captured. We can shove him anywhere if we want. We'll shove him in the corner. Is that supposed to be an old tattered bed? Let's just chuck him on there. That'll do. All right. So that's it. That is the basics of this whole thing built. Yeah, I know. It's simple, isn't it? Oh, there we are. Because I had token selected. It's really not a very complex module at all. Yeah, we've taken several weeks to do it. Just cast suggestion to get the truth. Yeah, Igla, absolutely. It's like, come on. You know, you've got all of these, you know, these different ways of doing it. And the module's just kind of like, oh yeah, the drow's struggling to get past these few undead. Oh, the drow is struggling to deal with a little bit of fungus, even though they come from the Underdark. Oh, the drow can't get the dwarf, to tell him some information. It's like, really? It's like, yeah, you're right. Suggestion. They've given him suggestion, yet apparently Nesnar's not smart enough to actually do it. What was his intelligence? Intelligence of 16, and he can't work these things out. Yeah, it is weak, but there we go. Right, we definitely are out of time, and I need to call this to an end. We've done all the basics, guys. Now I know we talked about the tiles and stuff, and we didn't really look at that. What is next is to start looking at this and going over and just beefing it up. Now, how many more I'm going to do as live stream, I'm not too sure. because as much as I enjoy this, it is actually, my schedule's all over the place at the moment, and I've got a bit of a conflict on a Sunday, and yeah, anyway, rushing between places gets a bit difficult. But we will do next week, and we'll make a start and looking at those things. And if we can't carry on with the live streams, then what I'll do is I'll continue this series as a recorded one, but working exactly where we got where we kind of left off. We're going to look at we're going to put in things like the difficult terrain. We're going to look at using FX Master. We're going to look at automated animations. We're going to look at things like Vision 5e. We're going to start working through some of those modules just to really, really bring this out. You've learnt loads this evening. Brilliant. 4x2, Lee. That's why we do it. Not just for you personally, although, I would. Anything that helps people run a better game, that's why we do this. Oh yes, Jason, yes, Player's Handbook. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. It's well worth doing. Hey, I get so much out of doing this with you guys, not just the live streams, but the whole lot, and the feedback and the comments, and people kind of go, well, why don't you try this mod? Why don't you try that? I've learned so much from you guys. So, like I say lots of times, I don't earn very much out of this, but once I built a little bit up in the bank, it's like give it to you lot, or I give it to Gambit, or I give it to Ripper, etc., as patrons and stuff like that, just to support the wider community and keep everybody moving in a positive direction. And hopefully, they just keep playing, and they keep having more fun than they did before, because it's slightly easier, or they've got new flashy things they can do. No, Iglo, I don't suppose you have learnt very much, and I really appreciate you coming along to these, because I know you don't get a lot out of it personally, things that you've learned, but I really appreciate you along for the journey, because you actually, little things that you add to it makes a big difference. Right, that's it. We are going to end it. I'm going to go. I'm sure I've got a pile of washing up to do. Something hideous. Thank you, guys. I will see you next week, like I say, and we'll start looking at some of those mods, working through, and like I say, it'll probably degenerate into recorded ones, but I will try and do those as a recorded one, like for an hour long, and release it every Sunday kind of thing if I can. I'll see what I can do. But I'm hoping to be working on a different video tomorrow. Now Curse of Strahd is done, I can leave that behind. So there we go. Anyway, take care, everybody. I will see you again next week. Have a great week. Thank you. Bye-bye.